The Joe Rogan Experience.
You don't do drugs, you don't drink, right? You don't fuck around with anything.
No, yeah, that's like one of the things that we talked, like, when we talked about how I'm sustainable, is that you have to not do the certain things that make it unsustainable.
Right.
So I never really got into drugs. I do talk about my book, my first acid trip when I was 13, but that scared the living shit out of me to stay away from anything hallucinogenic. And like literally at 13. So I just stay away from drugs.
That's a bad time to do acid. It's a bad idea.
It's a very, very funny story, but
sure.
It got to the point where I just became this straight edge hardcore kid. I became extremely religious because I was in this, like, I was 13. I was looking up going, I'm going to be fucked for the rest of my life. Like, when you're on acid, you're like fucking out there. You're just so fucked up. And when you start thinking like, this is how I'm going to be forever, you're clinging on to anything that can get you out, right? And for me, when I grew up as a kid, my mom was putting me into like Catholic schools. And one of the best things that Catholic schools do is indoctrinate kids on fear. And so I remember going up to the drawing board, like there was like a drawing of what hell is. Like, guess who's going there forever? People that don't believe, And, when you're young, you start seeing that. And then when you get into a place of vulnerability where you're like where I was like scared shitless. I was like, I'm going to go to an insane award when I'm 13 because I can't get out of this acid hell trip.
How long did it last?
I guess 7, 8 hours, but every second is like a minute, because you cannot sleep. You cannot stop thinking about what you're in. I mean, there is it's like this exaggerated emotions. Like the first part of my acid trip was like, I was so funny. I was laughing at everything. It was like the best thing I ever did. I was like, oh my God, everything is so funny. I'm just laughing. I'm like in pain because I'm like just laughing at everything. Just everything's joyous. And then like I went into this upside down world, like Stranger Things, when I got dropped off at my friend's house and everyone went dark. And my friend's 14. He doesn't do drugs. So he was just, and his mom was coming down. You okay? Everything's okay.
Did they know you were on acid?
No, they knew I was on acid, but they were like, you're like, I'm like an 80-pound Japanese kid, 5 foot, like a little kid. Like, what the hell am I doing acid for, I do talk about like where that came out, but yeah, so like when I got flipped into that world, then everything was like, I saw Street Fighter like fireballs from Ryu coming at me like when I closed my eyes. It was very, very vibrant and vivid, and I mean it's a trip for sure.
So once you regained sanity, you were like, enough of any of this nonsense.
Yeah. Once I was like, oh my God, I'm back. This is for real. Like I have fuck drugs, fuck this shit. And then I was like, I'm straight edge because that's the music I was starting to get into. And then I was like, I'm all about God and Jesus. It's going to save me, like he saved me. So like as a kid, I was very religious going out and that, started exploring more about the world and then went more from this faith-based concepts of living through life to, things that needed to make sense for me. I'm very much more scientific on like the understanding of how I want to see things.
Where did the change take place? When did it take place?
That would happen to be college and post.
Where'd you go to school?
UC Santa Barbara.
So when you went, it was great. Yeah, I love Santa Barbara. God, it's like the hidden gem of California, right?
Yeah.
It's so sweet out there.
Yeah.
So you just became educated, started learning more about things, and then
I don't know if there was like one spark that happened. It was just kind of like I just had questions about why things happen, like what is religion, like what how things work in the world, how societies are built.
Did you study theology?
A little, but I don't know if that would be like the philosophy classes I was taking was not really the crux of it. Sociology was my major. I was women's studies and sociology when I was in college.
Women's studies?
Yeah, women's studies.
Figure them out?
Yeah. I mean,
get to the bottom of this?
I'd have to say, like, strangely enough, that's the first thing you think about, right? Why is a guy in women's studies like trying to understand?
They're angry.
I mean, the reason why I was in that department is because my favorite teachers were the ones teaching those classes. So I just was like, all right, I'll try this one. And then I was like, wow, this is actually pretty interesting. I'll try another one. And then I was like, well, I'll finish off the major. And, you know, I'd have to say, like, the stuff that I learned in school, it's in large part of how I kind of look through, kind of like navigate through my life. Like sociology, I am a sociologist. I want to study people, like why they do certain things. You know, like how do I navigate them in different directions?
Well,
you know?
and then you've become a purveyor of great fun. Like that's essentially what you do professionally, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you give people a great time. Like
Yeah.
your shows are this wild, extremely energetic experience for people. When they leave, there's a certain level of transformance.
Right.
You know, I've watched some of your shit online, and you do these enormous crowds, man, and it's so epic. And you see all those people going fucking crazy and dancing along to your shit. I mean, it's got to be a wild, wild feeling knowing that you're giving this really positive experience, these thousands and thousands of people that are just roaring along to your music.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, no, as you say, I'm like, you know, getting all like...
Goosebumpy.
Yeah, no, because
it's
it's exactly what you're saying, and that's why I guess you could say I'm addicted to that, and because I care so much about that, I have to be sustainable. You know, it goes back to what we're talking about, like what do I need to do?
Shows you do too. There's no fucking way you could do 250 shows a year and get fucked up 250 days.
Oh yeah,
because there's a lot, you know, in that business especially. You know, the business of electronic dance music, there's a lot of people doing Molly, right? There's a lot of people doing all kinds of amphetamines and all kinds of crazy shit. And you got to think, like, you do that every night, man, you're going to look like an 80-year-old man by the time you're 40 years old because you've literally burned the candle with a blowtorch. You've used that Elon Musk, not a flamethrower, on your fucking birthday candle. You know? I mean, it's...
But you know what I always say, if whenever I have the opportunity, is that for the people in my crowds, and I have to say country by country, they're very different as far as like what I think if they're doing drugs or not.
Where they do the most drugs? Holland?
No, I don't think so. I don't, but you know, it's hard. Like, it's like I'm just judging, right? I don't know like what people are doing out there. I could judge by how interactive they are. That's the best way I can tell.
Right. If they're like,
yeah, if they're, that's the worst. That's the worst like subject to play to. It's like literally playing at a cocktail party when their backs are turned to you. It's the same kind of thing for me. So if they're already high and they just like lost in their world, like it's no fun for me. Plus, I spend so much time making like my sets so interactive, so engaging, and entertaining. Like it's a bit disrespectful.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
You know, but like, you know, some people are going to do it. You're not going to be like the Debbie Downer and be like, yeah, everyone on drugs, get the hell out of here.
You lose 80% of your crowd. What percentage? If you said that, everyone on drugs, get the fuck out of here. If they listen to you, what percentage do you think in Vegas would leave?
Oh, I don't know. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to know. Honestly.
At least weed.
Yeah. Weed's different though.
Yeah.
Weed's more like chill, you know, like, but if you're so like high, zoinked off your head where you don't even know where you are or what's going on, then like you just lose the whole experience. I mean, a lot of times people wake up going, oh, what happened? Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the point of you know, of the experience if you're so blitzed out of your head you don't even know what's going on? So
allegedly during the experience they're having a good time. Maybe.
Yeah.